Guruji. Anantam Shukrana Guru Maharaj for this beautiful divine satsang. Last week we read chapter 31 of Rudra Samhita part 3. In this we read that Himavat and Mena realized that they were deceived by Lord Shiva when they found out that Lord Shiva had assumed the form of a beggar and begged of him for the hand of Parvati. And when they realized that, their devotion towards the Lord increased. On realizing that devotion of Himavat and Mena had increased towards Lord Shiva, Indra and other gods, they thought that if at all Himavat gives Parvati's hand to Lord Shiva without any second thought, with single-minded devotion, then he would attain salvation immediately, which means that the form of Himalaya or Himavat from Bharat would disappear, which would also mean that Himavat, which is the storehouse of all the gems, would disappear, as it would attain divine form and it would unite with Lord Shiva. Now, bewildered by these thoughts, they went up to Brahaspati and they explained their situation, and they also requested Brahaspati to go to Himavat and use disrespectful words for Lord Shiva so that they can create a doubt in the mind of Himavat whether he should give his daughter's hand to Lord Shiva or not. In that situation, Himavat would not attain salvation and the mountain would remain as is, as a storehouse for endless jewels and gems. This was the plan of Devas, but when Brahaspati heard about their plan, he actually plugged his ears with both his hands and also rebuked the gods. He also advised them to go to Brahma with their problem. Of course, the gods then approached Lord Brahma and explained their plight. Now, Brahma also denied their request and said that using disrespectful words for Lord Shiva or rebuking him is the ultimate sin. So he would not be able to do that. But at the same time, he advised that they should go to the Lord himself, the benevolent Lord, and he might help. So all of them went up to Lord Shiva and requested Lord Shiva to go to Himavat and use disrespectful words for himself so that he can actually convince Himavat to not give Parvati's hand to Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva, of course, because he's subservient to his devotees, he agreed to God's request and the gods were happy and they went back to their abode. Meanwhile, Lord Shiva, he assumed the form of a saintly Brahmin and went to Himavat's abode. Himavat and his attendants who saw the saintly Brahmin, they stood up and joined their hands in reverence, and Parvati, of course, understood that this is Lord Shiva who has assumed the guise of a Brahmin, so she mentally eulogized the Lord, and then Himavat, he actually worshipped this Brahmin with devotion and asked him who he was. So Shiva, who was disguised as Brahmin, told him that he was a devotee of Lord Vishnu whose occupation was matchmaking, and he had heard that this Lord of the Mountain was ready to give his daughter's hand to Lord Shiva to get Parvati married to Lord Shiva. So he then tried to tell all the wrong things about Lord Shiva. He disrespected the Lord and completely discredited Shiva in comparison to Parvati, and also advised him not to do so. After saying all these things, he gathered all the food and left the place and went back to his abode. Today we will be reading chapter 32, which is the 7 celestial sages arrive, and chapter 33, which is the appeasement of Himavat. Today Rashmi Aunty will be reading in English and Sushma Aunty will be reading in Hindi. Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji. Shukrana Guruji. Chapter 32. The 7 celestial sages arrive. Brahma said, on hearing the words of the Brahmin, Meena spoke to Himavat with tears welling up in her eyes due to grief and with the heart extremely dejected. Meena said, O Lord of the mountains, please listen to my words conducive to happiness. Please consult important devotees of Shiva regarding what has been mentioned by the Brahmin. Many disparaging remarks about Shiva have been made by this Brahmanical devotee of Vishnu. O Lord of Mountains, on hearing these words, my mind is very much dejected. O Lord of Mountains, I shall not give my daughter endowed with all good accomplishments to Shiva with ugly features, ignoble conduct, and defiled name. If you do not accede to my request, I shall undoubtedly die. I will immediately leave this house or swallow poison. With a rope, I shall tie Parvati round my neck and go to a thick forest. I would rather drown myself in the great ocean. I shall never give my daughter to him. Saying thus, with great grief, Meena entered the chamber of anger. Casting off her necklaces, she lay down on the ground, sighing and sobbing. Oh dear, in the meantime, all those seven celestial sages were remembered by Shiva, whose mind was agitated by the pangs of separation from Parvati. All those seven sages, as soon as they were remembered by Shiva, came there in person as though they were another set of wish-yielding kalpatris. Arundhati too came there, though she was an achievement personified. On seeing them resplendent like the sun, Shiva stopped his recitation of mantras. O sage, standing in front of Shiva and bowing to and eulogizing him, the seven sages of great austerity considered themselves blessed. Then, as they were struck with surprise, they joined their palms in reverence, bowed to, and addressed Shiva, adored by all the worlds. The sages said, O most excellent of all, O great ruler, O emperor of the heaven dwellers, how can our fortune, which is very excellent, be described by us? Formerly, we had performed three kinds of penance. We had studied the excellent Vedas. We had made offerings in the fire. We had visited many holy centers. Thus, whatever merit we have acquired verbally, mentally, and physically, that entire merit has now accrued to us by your blessing in remembering us. A man who worships you always shall be blessed. How can that merit be properly described? The merit of those whom you yourself remember. O Sadashiv, we have become the most excellent of all people by your remembering us. Usually, you never even come across the path of ambitions and aspirations of ordinary people. O Lord, your vision, very difficult to be acquired, is like the fruit stooping down within the reach of the dwarf, like sight to a man born blind, like eloquency acquired by a dumb man, like the indigent meeting with a treasure trove, like the lame man reaching the top of a high mountain, and like the barren woman bearing a child. By seeing you today, we have become the most respectable sages, worthy of the worship of all the worlds. We have reached the highest position. O Lord of gods, by seeing you, who are the Lord of all gods, we have become worthy of great respect. There is no necessity of talking more. If any duty is assigned to us, it will be a favor to us. An auspicious task befitting us, you utter slaves, shall be given to us. Brahma said, on hearing their words, Shiva the great Lord, in conformity with the conventions of the world, spoke these pleasant words. Shiva said, sages are always to be adored, and particularly you all. O Brahmins, it was for a specific reason that you have been summoned here. My attitude of being helpful is known to you. That must be achieved, especially in the interest of the fulfillment of the desires of the world. Cause for great misery has arisen for the gods at the hands of Taraka the wicked. Boon has already been granted. He is invincible. What shall I do? O great sages, all the 8 cosmic bodies that I possess are not for furthering my self-interest. They are for helping the wide world. A great penance has been performed by Parvati that cannot be performed even by great sages. I have to give her the great fruit thereof. Indeed, my vow is to render delight to my devotees. The fruit I bestow on her shall be conducive to her welfare. Hence, I wish to marry her. At the request of Parvati, I went to the abode of the mountain in the guise of a mendicant. Clever in divine sports, I thereby sanctified her. On hearing to know that I am the supreme Brahman, the couple were desirous of giving me their daughter with great devotion in accordance with the Vedic manner. On the inducement of the gods, in order to reduce the quality of devotion, I took the guise of a devotee of Vishnu and rebuked myself. O sages, on hearing it, they were dejected and have now lost interest in me, and do not wish to give their daughter to me. Hence, you all go to the abode of Himavat and urge the excellent mountain and his wife. Speak out the words as venerable as the Vedas. Do everything necessary to get the matter straightened out and settled. O excellent ones, I wish to marry their daughter. I have agreed to marry her and have already granted her that boon. What is the use of talking too much? Hemavat must be convinced. Mena too must be convinced similarly, so that the purpose of the gods shall be served well. Whatever mode is selected by you shall be more than necessary. The task is yours. You alone are the sharers of the credit. Brahma said, on hearing these words, the seven sages of pure mind became delighted and thought themselves blessed by the Lord. We have become blessed and contented in every respect. We have become venerable to everyone, specially adorable. He who is worthy of being respected by Brahma and Vishnu, he who secures everything accomplished, is sending us, his emissaries, on an errand that is conducive to the happiness of all the worlds. He is the master of the worlds and their father. She is considered the mother. Let this proper alliance increase forever like the moon. Saying thus, the celestial sages bowed to Shiva and went by aerial path in the direction of the city of Hemavat. On seeing that city of heavenly splendor, the sages were surprised. Expatiating on their good fortune, they spoke to one another. The sages said, we are really blessed and meritorious in being able to see this city because we have been engaged in a task like this. This city seems to be better than Alaka, heaven, Bhogavati, and even Amravati. The houses are beautiful and well built. The courtyards are well laid out and paved with different kinds of crystals and jewels of variegated colors. Slabs of solar and lunar stones are found in every house. Different kinds of celestial trees are also growing here. The splendor of festoons is also seen in every house. They are of different colors and sorts with shapes of parrots and swans carved on the walls of the palaces. The canopies with hanging festoons are of diverse character. There are many lakes and ponds. The gardens and the parks are of various kinds, frequented by delighted people. Here men are like gods and the women are like celestial damsels. In the land of activities, the sacrificial priests and the followers of Puranas perform holy rites with a desire to attain heaven. That is in vain because they left off the city of Hemavat. Men are eager to go to heaven only as long as the city is not seen. O Brahmins, when the city is seen, what is the use of heaven? Brahma said, describing the city, thus all those excellent sages went to the rich and well-furnished abode of Hemavat. On seeing those seven sages, resplendent like the sun, coming along the aerial path from a distance, Hemavat was surprised and said, Hemavat said, the seven venerable persons, resplendent like the sun, are approaching me. These sages shall be worshipped by me now. We householders are really blessed, to whom great men like these, bestowing happiness on all, pay their visit. Brahma said, in the meantime, they descended on the ground from the sky. On seeing them, Hemavat advanced to welcome them. With palms joined in reverence, he bowed to them with stooping shoulders and worshipped them with due respect and honor. Desiring welfare of others, the seven sages embraced Hemavat, the lord of mountains, and spoke words of auspicious blessings with pleasant faces. Keeping them ahead, he said, my household life is blessed. With great devotion, he got and offered them seats. When they were duly seated, he too sat with their permission. Then Hemavat spoke to the refulgent sages. Hemavat said, I am blessed, I am contented, my life is fruitful, I am the best person worthy of being seen in three worlds. I am as pure as any of the holy centers. All of this is because you, verily in Lord Vishnu's forms, have come to my abode. Perfect ones such as you, what special purpose can there be in visiting poor persons like me? Still, I am your servant. Some task there may be to be entrusted to me. Mercifully, maybe it be spoken out. May my life be fruitful. Chapter 33, The Appeasement of Hemavat. The sages said, Shiva is the father of the universe. Parvati is the mother of the universe. Hence, your daughter shall be given to Shiva, the supreme soul. O Himalaya, by this activity, your life will be fruitful. You will become the venerable person of the most venerable in the universe. There is no doubt about it. Brahma said, O great sage, on hearing these words of seven sages, the Lord of the mountains bowed to them with joined palms and spoke thus. Hemavat said, O ye seven sages of great enlightenment, what have you just now said has already been cherished by me by the will of Shiva. Now, a certain Brahmin professing Vaishnava cult came here and spoke very critically about Shiva. Ever since, the mother Parvati has gone out of sense. Hence, she does not wish her daughter's marriage with Shiva. She has entered the chamber of anger. She is aggrieved, and her clothes become dirty. O Brahmins, her obduracy is so great that she does not pay heed to any advice. I too am, you can say, out of sense. I am telling you the truth. I do not wish to give my daughter to Shiva, who is apparently a mendicant. Brahma said, O sage, after saying these words, the king of mountains, deluded by Shiva's magic, became silent and sat amidst the sages. The seven celestial sages praised the magic of Shiva and sent Arundhati to Menaka. Then, at the bidding of her husband Arundhati, the bestower of knowledge, went quickly to the place where Mena and Parvati were sitting. After going in, she saw Mena lying in her grief. The chaste lady spoke to her these carefully selected sweet and wholesome words. Arundhati said, O Menaka, get up. O chaste lady, I, Arundhati, have come to your house. The seven sages of sympathetic nature have also come. Brahma said, on hearing Arundhati's voice, Meena got up quickly and bowed to her, who was on a par with Lakshmi in her brilliance. Meena said, Ha! What a meritorious thing is this! We are blessed. Arundhati, the daughter-in-law of the creator of the universe, the wife of Vashisht, has come here. O gentle lady, what for is your visit now? Please tell me specifically. My daughter and I are your slaves. Be merciful to us. Brahma said, Arundhati, the chaste lady thus addressed, advised her in various ways and returned to the place where the sages were seated. Then they began to advise the Lord of Mountains after thinking on the feet of Shiva. They were clever in speech and they spoke respectfully. The sages said, O Lord of the Mountains, may our words, the cause of everything auspicious, be heard. Give Parvati to Shiva. Become the father-in-law of the world destroyer. For the destruction of Taraka, formerly Brahma requested Shiva, who is the Lord of all and who does not beg of anyone, to strive for his alliance. Shiva, the foremost of yogins, was not eager to marry, but since requested by Brahma, the Lord agreed to take your daughter. Parvati performed a penance and the Lord promised her. Thus, for these two reasons, the Lord of Yogins wishes to marry her. Brahma said, on hearing the words of the sages, Himavat laughed, but he was little frightened. He spoke with humility. Himavat said, I do not see any royal paraphernalia with Shiva. He has none to support him. He has no assets. He has no kinsman. I do not wish to give my daughter to a yogin who is extremely detached. O ye sons of the creator of the Vedas, tell me decisively, if a father were to give his daughter in marriage to an unsuitable person out of love, delusion, fear, or covetousness, he is doomed. He will go to hell. Out of my own free will, I will not give her to trident-bearing Shiva. O sages, whatever arrangement is befitting here may kindly be carried out. Brahma said, O excellent sages, on hearing these words of mountain Himavat, Vasishta, the most eloquent among them, replied. Vasishta said, O Lord of mountains, listen to my words in every respect conducive to your welfare. They are not against virtue. They are true and shall bring about your joy here and hereafter. Statements in ordinary language and in the Vedas are of three forms. A scholar knowing all lores understands them by means of his pure vision of knowledge. It is only an enemy, though keen in intellect, who says what is pleasing to the ears now, but what transpires to be untrue and unwholesome afterwards. He never speaks wholesome things. Only a virtuous and a sympathetic friend will speak such words as are unpleasant in the beginning but conducive to happiness in the end. But the third variety of behavior, nectar-like to the ears, conducive to happiness on all occasions, essential and truthful, is considered to be the most excellent. O mountain, these are the three types of behavior as mentioned in the treatise on polity. Tell me, what type of behavior shall I adopt to please you? Shiva, the Lord of gods, is devoid of riches created by Brahma, but his mind is engrossed in the ocean of true knowledge. How can Lord Shiva, whose knowledge bliss, himself have any desire for articles created by Brahma? An ordinary householder gives his daughter to one who has kingdom and riches in his possession. By offering his daughter to a miserable person, a father may be guilty of slaughtering his daughter. Who can think Shiva miserable whose servant is Kubera? He is attributeless, supreme soul, great lord, and greater than Prakriti. He can create and annihilate things by a mere supportive touch of his eyebrows. His manifestations are threefold. He is the cause of creation, sustenance, and annihilation in the names of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma stays in Brahmaloka, Vishnu in the milk ocean, Shiva in Kailasha. All these are the attributes of Shiva. The primordial nature, born of Shiva, maintains threefold forms in the creative activity, partially out of sport with diverse digits. Vani, the deity presiding over the activity of speech, is born of his mouth. Lakshmi, in the form of riches, is born out of his chest. Parvati manifested herself in the splendors of gods. After killing all the demons, she granted riches and glory to the gods. In another kalpa, she was born of the womb of Daksha's wife. Her name was Sati. She attained Shiva. Daksha gave her to him. By her yogic power, she cast off her body. On hearing about the insult to her husband, she is now born of you in the womb of Meena. This Parvati is the wife of Shiva in every birth. In every kalpa, she is the great cosmic intellect, mother of wise men. She is victorious always in the form of Siddha, the bestower of Siddhi, and is Siddhi personified. Shiva carefully preserves the bones and ashes from the funeral pyre of Sati. Hence, you give your daughter, this gentle lady, to Shiva out of your own free will. Otherwise, she will herself go and surrender herself as his beloved wife. Taking the firm decision on seeing her innumerable sufferings, he came to the place of your daughter's penance in the guise of a Brahmin. After consoling her and granting her the boon, he returned to his abode. It was for complying with her request that Shiva requested you for the hand of Shiva. O mountain, both of you had accepted the proposal as you were drawn by devotion to Shiva. O Lord of mountains, how is it that your mind has taken a somersault now? Please tell me. On being requested by gods, the Lord has sent us, the sages and Arundhati, to you. O mountain, we instruct you plainly. By giving Parvati to Shiva, you will meet with great bliss. O Lord of mountains, even if you do not give Parvati to Shiva out of your own free will, their marriage will take place as a result of inexorable workings of fate. O dear one, Shiva has already granted Parvati the boon at the time of her penance. A promise to Shiva cannot be turned topsy-turvy. Oh, even the promise of ordinary good men acting under the guidance of Shiva cannot be transgressed in all the worlds. O mountain, what then about that of Shiva himself? Working single-handed, Lord Indra chopped off the wings of the mountains as though at play. Parvati too sportively broke the peak of Meru. All riches can be sacrificed, O Lord of mountains, for the sake of a single entity, but the eternal Shruti has it that one should forsake a single entity for the sake of a unit. When danger was imminent at the hands of Brahman, the chief of kings, Anarnya, saved his entire asset by giving his daughter to him. When he was threatened by the curse of Brahman, his preceptors, wise kinsmen, and people well versed in the science of polity advised him hastily. O king of mountains, you too save your kinsmen by giving your daughter to Shiva. You can claim thus the gods too to your side. Brahma said, on hearing the words of Vashisht, Himavat, with a dejected heart, but laughing, outwardly asked him about the details of the story of the king. Himavat said, O Brahman, what is the race to which King Anarnya belonged? How did he save his assets by giving his daughter? Brahma said, on hearing these words of the mountain, Vashishta became glad and told him the details of the interesting story of the king. This is the end of English reading. Hindi reading would be done by Sushma Aunty. Jai Guruji.
जय गुरुजी। शुक्राना गुरुजी इस पवित्र ग्रंथ को पढ़ने के लिए, जो आपने हमें सेवा दी है इसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद गुरुजी। अध्याय 32 एंड 33 आरंभ। मेनका को भवन में प्रवेश, भगवान शिव का हिमवान के पास सप्त ऋषियों को भेजना तथा हिमवान द्वारा उनका सत्कार, सप्त ऋषियों तथा अरुंधति का और महर्षि विशिष्ट का मीना और हिमवान को समझाकर पार्वती का विवाह भगवान शिव के साथ करने के लिए कहना। ब्रह्मा जी कहते हैं, ब्राह्मण रूपधारी शिव जी के वचनों का मीना के ऊपर बड़ा प्रभाव पड़ा और उन्होंने दुखी होकर पति से कहा, गिरिराज, इन वैष्णव ब्राह्मण ने शिव जी की जो निंदा की है उसे सुनकर मेरा मन उनकी ओर से बहुत खिन्न एवं विरक्त हो गया है। शैलेश्वर, रुद्र के रूप, शील और नाम सभी कुत्सित हैं। मैं उन्हें अपनी सुलक्षणा पुत्री कदापि नहीं दूंगी। यदि आप मेरी बात नहीं मानेंगे तो मैं निस्संदेह मर जाऊंगी, अभी इस घर को छोड़ दूंगी अथवा विष खा लूंगी, पार्वती के गले में फांसी लगाकर गहन वन में चली जाऊंगी अथवा उसे महासागर में डुबो दूंगी, परंतु अपनी बेटी को रुद्र के गले में नहीं मरूंगी। ऐसा कहकर मीना तुरंत कोप भवन में चली गई और अपने हार को फेंककर रोती हुई धरती पर लौट गई। इधर भगवान शिव को इस बात का पता लगा, तब उन्होंने अरुंधति सहित सप्त ऋषियों को बुलाया तथा मीना के पास जाकर उन्हें समझाने की आज्ञा दी। शिव जी का आदेश प्राप्त कर भगवान शिव को नमस्कार करके वे दिव्य ऋषि आकाश मार्ग से उस स्थान को चल दिए जहाँ हिमवान की नगरी थी। उस दिव्यपुरी को देखकर उन सप्तऋषियों को बड़ा विस्मय हुआ। वे हिमाचलपुरी की परस्पर प्रशंसा करते हुए सब ऐश्वर्यों से भरिपूर्ण हिमवान के घर जा पहुंचे। उन सूर्य तुल्य तेजस्वी सातों ऋषियों को दूर से आकाश के रास्ते आते देख हिमवान को बड़ा विस्मय हुआ। वे बोले, ये 7 सूर्य तुल्य तेजस्वी मुनि मेरे पास आ रहे हैं। मुझे प्रयत्नपूर्वक इस समय इनकी पूजा करनी चाहिए। सबको सुख देने वाले हम गृहस्थ लोग धन्य हैं, जिनके घर पर ऐसे महात्मा पदार्पण किया करते हैं। ब्रह्मा जी कहते हैं, इसी समय वे मुनि आकाश से उतरकर पृथ्वी पर खड़े हो गए। उन्हें सामने देख हिमवान बड़े आदर के साथ आगे बढ़े और हाथ जोड़ मस्तक झुकाकर उन सप्तऋषियों को प्रणाम करने के पश्चात उन्होंने बड़े सम्मान के साथ उन सबकी पूजा की तथा उन्हें आगे करके कहा, मेरा गृह आश्रम आज धन्य हो गया। यूं कहकर उन्हें बैठने के लिए भक्तिपूर्वक आसन लाकर दिया। जब वे आसनों पर बैठ गए तब उनकी आज्ञा लेकर हिमवान भी बैठे और वहां उन ज्योतिर्मय महर्षियों से इस प्रकार बोले। हिमवान ने कहा, आज मैं धन्य हूँ, कृतकृत्य हूँ, मेरा जीवन सफल हो गया। मैं लोक में बहुत से तीर्थों की भांति दर्शनीय बन गया, क्योंकि आप जैसे विष्णु रूपी महात्मा मेरे घर पधारे हैं। आप लोग पूर्ण काम हैं, हम दीनों के घरों में आपका क्या काम हो सकता है। तथापि मुझे सेवक को योग्य यदि कोई कार्य है तो कृपा पूर्वक उसे अवश्य कहें, उसे पूर्ण करने में मेरा जीवन सफल हो जाएगा। ऋषि बोले, शैलराज, भगवान शिव को जगत का पिता कहा गया है और शिवा जगत माता मानी गई हैं, अतः तुम्हें महात्मा शंकर को अपनी कन्या देनी चाहिए। हिमालय, ऐसा करके तुम्हारा जन्म सफल हो जाएगा तथा तुम जगत गुरु के भी गुरु हो जाओगे, इसमें संशय नहीं है। मुनीश्वर, सप्तऋषियों का ये वचन सुनकर हिमवान ने दोनों हाथ जोड़ उन्हें प्रणाम करके इस प्रकार कहा। हिमालय बोले, महाभाग सप्तऋषियों, आप लोगों ने जो बात कही है उसे शिव की इच्छा से मैंने पहले से ही मान रखा था, किंतु प्रभु, इन दिनों एक वैष्णव धर्मी ब्राह्मण ने आकर भगवान शिव के प्रति प्रसन्नता पूर्वक बहुत सी उल्टी बातें बताई हैं। तभी से शिवा की माता का ज्ञान भ्रष्ट हो गया है। वे अपनी बेटी का विवाह उस योगी रुद्र के साथ नहीं करना चाहती। ब्राह्मणों, वे बड़ा भारी हट करके मैले कपड़े पहन कोप भवन में चली गई हैं और समझाने पर भी समझ नहीं रही हैं। मैं भी उन वैष्णव ब्राह्मण की बात सुनकर ज्ञान भ्रष्ट हो गया हूँ। आपसे सच कहता हूँ, भिक्षुक रूपधारी महेश्वर को बेटी देने की अब मेरी भी इच्छा नहीं है। ब्रह्मा जी कहते हैं, नारद, मुनियों के बीच में बैठे हुए शैलराज शिव की माया से मोहित हो उपयुक्त बात कहकर चुप हो रहे। तभी उन सब ऋषियों ने शिव की माया की प्रशंसा करके मेनका के पास अरुंधति को भेजा। पति की आज्ञा पाकर ज्ञानदायिनी अरुंधति देवी तुरंत उस घर में गई जहाँ मेना और पार्वती थीं। जाकर उन्होंने देखा मेना शोक से आकुल होकर पृथ्वी पर पड़ी है। तब उन साध्वी देवी ने बड़ी सावधानी के साथ मधुर एवं हितकर बात कही। अरुंधति बोली, साध्वी रानी मेनके, उठो, मैं अरुंधति तुम्हारे घर में आई हूँ तथा दयालु सप्तऋषि भी पधारे हैं। अरुंधति का स्वर सुनकर मेनका शीघ्र उठ गई और लक्ष्मी जैसी तेजस्विनी उन पतिव्रता देवी के चरणों में मस्तक रखकर बोली। मीना ने कहा, अहो, हम पुण्य जन्मा जीवों का आज ये किस पुण्य का फल प्राप्त हुआ है कि हमारे इस घर में जगत सृष्टा ब्रह्मा जी की पुत्र वधू और महर्षि वशिष्ठ की पत्नी पधारी हैं। देवी, आप किस लिए आई हैं, ये मुझे बताइए। मैं और मेरी पुत्री आपकी दासी के समान है, आप हम पर कृपा कीजिए। मेनका के ऐसा कहने पर साध्वी अरुंधति ने उनको बहुत अच्छी तरह समझाया बुझाया और उन्हें साथ ले वो प्रसन्नतापूर्वक उस स्थान पर आई जहाँ पर सप्तऋषि विद्यमान थे। सप्तऋषिगण बातचीत में बड़े निपुण थे। उन सब ने भगवान शिव के युगल चरना बिंदुओं का स्मरण करके शैलराज को समझाना आरंभ किया। ऋषि बोले, शैलेंद्र, हमारा शुभ कारक वचन सुनो। तुम पार्वती का विवाह शिव के साथ कर दो और संहार करता रुद्र के शवशुर हो जाओ। शंभु सर्वेश्वर हैं, वो किसी से याचना नहीं करते। स्वयं ब्रह्मा जी ने तारकासुर के विनाश के लिए एक वीर पुत्र उत्पन्न करने के उद्देश्य को लेकर भगवान शिव से ये प्रार्थना की है कि वे विवाह कर लें। भगवान शंकर तो योगियों के शिरोमणि हैं, वे विवाह के लिए उत्सुक नहीं हैं। केवल ब्रह्मा जी की प्रार्थना से ही वे महादेव तुम्हारी कन्या का पानी ग्रहण करेंगे। तुम्हारी पुत्री ने जब तपस्या की थी उस समय उनके सामने उन्होंने उससे विवाह की प्रतिज्ञा कर ली थी। इन्हीं दो कारणों से वो योगीराज शिव विवाह करेंगे। ऋषियों की बात सुनकर हिमालय हंस पड़े और कुछ भयभीत हो विनय पूर्वक बोले। हिमालय ने कहा, मैं शिव के पास कोई राजोचित सामग्री नहीं देखता हूँ। उनका ना कोई घर है, ना ऐश्वर्य है और ना कोई स्वजन या बंधु बांधव ही है। मैं अत्यंत निर्लिप्त योगी को अपनी बेटी देना नहीं चाहता। आप लोग वेद विधाता ब्रह्मा जी के पुत्र हैं, अतः अपना निश्चित विचार कहिए। जो पिता काम से, मोह से, भय से अथवा लोभ से किसी अयोग्य वर को हाथ में अपनी कन्या दे देता है, वो मरने के बाद नरक में जाता है। अतः मैं स्वेच्छा से भगवान शूलपाणी को अपनी कन्या नहीं दूंगा। इसलिए महर्षियों, जो उचित विधान हो उसे आप लोग कीजिए। मुनीश्वर नारद हिमाचल के इस वचन को सुनकर बातचीत करने में निपुण महर्षि वशिष्ठ ने उनसे यूं कहा। वशिष्ठ बोले, शैलेश्वर, मेरी बात सुनो। ये सर्वथा तुम्हारे लिए हितकारक, धर्म के अनुकूल, सत्य तथा ये लोक और परलोक में सुखदायक है। शैलराज, लोक तथा वेद में 3 प्रकार के वचन उपलब्ध होते हैं। शास्त्रज्ञ पुरुष अपनी निर्मल ज्ञान दृष्टि से उन सब प्रकार के वचनों को जानता है। एक तो वो वचन है जो तत्काल सुनने में बड़ा सुंदर या प्रिय लगता है, परंतु पीछे वो असत्य एवं अहितकारक सिद्ध होता है। ऐसा वचन बुद्धिमान शत्रु ही कहता है, उससे कभी हित नहीं होता। दूसरा वह है जो आरंभ में अच्छा नहीं लगता, उसे सुनकर अप्रसन्नता ही होती है, परंतु परिणाम में वो सुख देने वाला होता है। इस तरह का वचन कहकर दयालु धर्मशील बांधव जन ही कर्तव्य का बोध कराता है। तीसरी श्रेणी का वचन वह है जो सुनते ही अमृत के समान मीठा लगता है और सब काल में सुख देने वाला होता है। सत्य ही उसका सार होता है, इसलिए वह हितकारक हुआ करता है। ऐसा वचन सबसे श्रेष्ठ और सबके लिए अभीष्ट है। शैलराज, इस तरह नीति शास्त्र में 3 प्रकार के वचन कहे गए हैं। इन तीनों में से तुम्हें कौन सा वचन अभीष्ट है, बताओ, मैं तुम्हारे लिए वैसा ही वचन कहूँगा। भगवान शंकर संपूर्ण देवताओं के स्वामी हैं, उनके पास बाह्य संपत्ति नहीं है। इसका कारण ये है कि उनका चित्त एकमात्र ज्ञान के महासागर में मगन रहता है। जो ज्ञानानंद स्वरूप और सबके ईश्वर हैं, उन्हें लौकिक बाह्य वस्तुओं की क्या इच्छा होगी। गृहस्थ पुरुष राज्य और संपत्ति से सुशोभित होने वाले वर को अपनी पुत्री देता है, क्योंकि किसी दीन दुखी को कन्या देने से पिता कन्या घाती होता है, उसे कन्या के वध का पाप लगता है। कौन जानता है कि भगवान शंकर दुखी हैं? कुबेर जिनके किंकर हैं, जो अपनी भ्रूभंग की लीला मात्र से संसार की सृष्टि और संहार करने में समर्थ हैं, जिन्हें गुणातीत परमात्मा और प्रकृति से परे परमेश्वर कहा गया है। सृष्टि, पालन और संहार करने वाली जिनकी त्रिविध मूर्ति ही ब्रह्मा, विष्णु और हर नाम धारण करती है, उन्हें कौन निर्धन अथवा दुखी कह सकता है? ब्रह्मलोक में निवास करने वाले ब्रह्मा, क्षीर सागर में रहने वाले विष्णु तथा कैलाशवासी हर, ये सब शिव की ही विभूतियां हैं। शिव से प्रकट हुई प्रकृति भी अपने अंश से 3 प्रकार की मूर्तियों को धारण करती है। जगत में लीला शक्ति से प्रेरित हो वो अपनी कला से बहुत सा रूप धारण करती है। समस्त वांडम्य की अधिष्ठात्री देवी वाणी उनके मुख से ही प्रकट हुई है और सर्व संपत स्वरूपनी लक्ष्मी वक्षस्थल से आविर्भूत हुई है। तथा शिवा ने देवताओं के एकत्र हुए तेज से अपने को प्रकट किया था और संपूर्ण दानवों का वध करके देवताओं को स्वर्ग की लक्ष्मी प्रदान की थी। देवी शिवा कल्पांतर में दक्ष पत्नी के उदर से जन्म ले सती नाम से प्रसिद्ध हुई और हर को उन्होंने पति के रूप में प्राप्त किया। दक्ष ने स्वयं ही भगवान शिव को अपनी पुत्री दी थी। सती ने पति की निंदा सुनकर योग बल से अपने शरीर को त्याग दिया था। वही कल्याणमयी सती अब तुम्हारे वीर्य और मेना के गर्भ से प्रकट हुई है। शैलराज, ये शिवा जन्म जन्म में शिव की ही पत्नी होती है। प्रत्येक कल्प में बुद्धि रूपी दुर्गा ज्ञानियों की श्रेष्ठ माता होती है। ये सदा सिद्ध सिद्धदायिनी और सिद्ध रूपिणी है। भगवान हर चिता भस्म के रूप में सती के अस्थि चूर्ण को ही स्वयं प्रेम पूर्वक अपने अंगों में धारण करते हैं। अतः गिरिराज, तुम स्वेच्छा से ही अपनी मंगलमयी कन्या को भगवान हर के हाथ में दे दो। तुम यदि नहीं दोगे तो वो स्वयं प्रियतम के स्थान में चली जाएगी। देवेश्वर शिव तुम्हारी पुत्री का अनंत कलेश देखकर ब्राह्मण के रूप में इसकी तपस्या के स्थान पर आए थे और इसके साथ विवाह की प्रतिज्ञा करके इसे आश्वासन एवं वर देकर अपने आवास स्थान को लौट गए थे। गिरे, पार्वती की प्रार्थना से ही शंभू ने तुम्हारे पास आकर इसके लिए याचना की और तुम दोनों ने शिव भक्ति में मन लगाकर उनकी इस याचना को स्वीकार कर लिया था। गिरीश्वर, बताओ फिर किस कारण से तुम्हारी बुद्धि विपरीत हो गई? भगवान शिव ने देवताओं की प्रार्थना से प्रभावित होकर हम सब ऋषियों को और अरुंधति देवी को भी तुम्हारे पास भेजा है। हम तुम्हें यही शिक्षा देते हैं कि तुम पार्वती को रुद्र के हाथ में दे दो। गिरे, ऐसा करने से तुम्हें महान आनंद प्राप्त होगा। शैलेंद्र, यदि तुम स्वेच्छा से अपनी बेटी शिव के हाथ में नहीं दोगे तो भावी के बल से ही इन दोनों का विवाह हो जाएगा। तात, भगवान शंकर ने तपस्या में लगी हुई पार्वती को ऐसा ही वर दिया है। ईश्वर की हुई प्रतिज्ञा कभी पलट नहीं सकती। गिरिराज, ईश्वर के वश में रहने वाले समस्त साधु पुरुषों की भी प्रतिज्ञा का संसार में किसी के द्वारा उल्लंघन होना कठिन है, फिर साक्षात ईश्वर की प्रतिज्ञा के लिए तो कहना ही क्या है। अध्याय 32-33 समाप्त। जय गुरु जी। शुक्राना गुरु जी। बहुत बहुत शुक्राना।